So one thing that we were all just talking about is things that people did that were really helpful or that wasn't helpful as we sort of, after we lost our person in our grief, in the aftermath and in the ongoing months. And one thing that I said was, I had lost my dad just a few years before my husband died. And I just noticed that when my dad died from cancer, people were so willing to sort of celebrate him and grieve him and say his name and remember him. And when Peter died, all I wanted was people to say his name and miss him. And instead, I got a lot of offers of sympathy for only myself and my son. And so one thing that made a huge difference for me was just people who were willing to say his name and celebrate him and remember him, just like if he had died from cancer or any other way.
To piggyback on that, I feel like, and this is probably just kind of in general with grief, is that a lot of people feel awkward about bringing up your person who died because they're worried about upsetting you. But like, you're already sad and you're already thinking about that person. And I would really like it if more people would talk about my husband and share memories with me about him. Because when nobody really talks about them, it kind of feels like, did they even really exist if, I'm the only person who's thinking about them? And I know I'm not the only person who's thinking about them, but it's okay to talk about them.
Yeah, and it reminds us all, and it acknowledges that they're real and that they're still with us. And I just say their name. That's just all I want to say. All I want to put out there is, like, don't be afraid to say their name. I love when people talk about AJ or say his name or bring him up. Like, I feel so seen when people do that. And unfortunately, most of what I get is people tiptoeing around the subject. So that sucks.
I would say kudos, amen, all of it. I think people don't understand that if they tell old stories about them or celebrating their life, for me, that I only got 3 years of my person, even though my love was like much bigger than 3 years, they don't get that I get more of him. If you're telling some funny story or some beautiful thing, I get more of him. Like, you just gave me a little gift. So I'd say that's one thing. The other thing, I was so thankful for people that were specific. There was a girl I just met, and there's a lot of secondary loss of friends. And she said, I know I just met you, but I've decided you're in my tribe. I'm going to give you 2 weeks, and then I'm going to ask when I can show up with barbecue, and I will help you organize whatever you need to organize. Like, she didn't leave it broad. I just knew that she was going to, like, put it in her calendar and specifically be there, even if I couldn't say yes. So I think that that's a general grief thing, but it is a beautiful heart that does that. My one glib comment is, please don't send grief cards with glitter. I got so many grief cards.
Real.
And if somebody's not religious, like, don't send psalms in glitter.
We need a bumper sticker with that.
I didn't get any glitter.
What were you thinking, Hallmark?
But I absolutely want to just echo that. It's like, a lot of people ask you, what do you need, or let me know if I can do anything for you, and when you've lost somebody, your brain is not completely working. You feel like you need things, but you don't know what you need. And like, I'm just gonna put, I know that a lot of people like are anti like casseroles or lasagna or whatever, but my cousin showed up with a lasagna, and I was so thankful for that, because I wasn't in the mood to cook anything, so I'm pro lasagna.
I have to echo, if we're talking about, the first week, there's a lot of people who want to help. And I'm so grateful for all of the people who made food. I think one of the most helpful things were those close friends that did come, and you kind of have to be in that group to be able to come into that sphere comfortably. But they came and they did without asking me questions. Because my brain could not handle all of the questions. My brain couldn't handle bright light, couldn't handle a lot of people, and really couldn't handle a lot of words. And so go and do without asking what to do, without asking what to do. And the other thing, aside from say their name, I love hearing Chad's name. I don't want to be the only one saying his name. Aside from that, I would be careful, you know, what not to do. Be careful with asking why, what happened. Were there warning signs? Again, when you're dealing with someone who's gone through trauma, those aren't questions that they need to be dealing with at that point in time. Their brain is overloaded and on survival mode. And the best thing that anyone can do to help is just be present without needing things from them.
Yeah, and I want to add about the helpful things. 100% asking a bunch of questions like, how can I help? What can I do? Like, not exactly helpful. It's great that you want to help, but making a newly widowed person make decisions is like kind of the worst thing you can do. one of the not great things that you can do. So like I had a couple friends that set up a meal train, and they pretty much arranged anyone who told me they wanted to help me or do something for me. I sent them to my friends, Jess and Sarah. I was like, just text them and they can tell you, they can figure out when you can come over to clean or bring me food or whatever. And that was huge that my friends were willing to coordinate that for me. And I didn't have to think about anything for like probably a solid month or two. Like I just had to figure out how to get out of bed every day, which was more than enough. And so I loved the people who just said, hey, I'm headed to the grocery store. Can I pick you up something? Or just like, even just giving a few options of like, hey, I can clean your bathroom, or, you know, pick you up some food. Just like, don't make the widow do all of the heavy lifting of what you should be doing for them. If that makes sense.
I'd love one more quick thing on the back of that is, so one thing for general population, like non-widow folk, with the why, please understand that, especially a suicide widow's brain, I think a lot of widow and widowers' brains, but especially suicide widows, you are going through a cracked out investigation of literally piecing through every moment of your life and criticizing it, breaking it, and putting it back together. Every time you ask, why are you sure, what, you're basically asking us to be at that moment that we found out again and question all of our reality. Don't stray away from the fact that that's what happened, but just please don't. If we want to talk to you about it, we will, but that's going to take some time. And I would say for those that are not widows, my best friend deeply unfortunately lost his brother to a random accident about 3 months before me. And I would say to widows that want to do something now, please don't underestimate the knowledge that you've gained, the really unfortunate knowledge that you've gained. Because my best friend showed up with his wife couldn't come, but he showed up with like a binder and a list of things to do, of things like get 10 death certificates. But so like I went that whole week of having to answer the questions you never want to know the answer to, because my friend knew me well enough to say like, you know, and I had people be like, as an attachment, if you need to know these things, this is what I know about going to the funeral home, or, you know, these types of things. But like, be kind but bold about the knowledge that you have going forward, because people don't share it and people don't know it. And so they desperately kind of want somebody to help out with that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I was gonna take just a second and brag on my friends. So my best group of friends from home, who are amazing and have been amazing, two things they did that were really wonderful is they because I'm a mom, and I lost my husband during the quarantine from COVID, so it was really hard to get help and support. They sent like boxes of care packages of things for my son to do to keep him busy. And that was incredible because I didn't know how to be a mom, let alone like a person. And they also collected from my mom a list of all the important dates that might be difficult for me. And they've sort of continued their support over this last year, 5 months, to just, send me things on his birthday and on our wedding anniversary and on Father's Day and on days that they know I might have big feelings about my loss. And I think, a lot of widows fear that they'll be forgotten and that their person will be forgotten. And they've done an amazing job of making sure that I don't feel like people are forgetting Peter or forgetting me.